All right, welcome to The Explainer. If you're thinking about competing in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, or hey, maybe you're already in the thick of it, you know that what happens on the mats is about way more than just raw skill. It's about rules, it's about strategy, and it's about one very, very important number, your weight. So today, we are breaking down everything you need to know about the IBJJF weight class system.
But let's start with the big question, the one that's at the heart of it all. In a BJJ match, what should be the deciding factor? Pure size and strength, or should refined technique always come out on top? You know, the entire structure of competitive jiu-jitsu is basically an attempt to answer that question, to create a space where skill is what truly matters most.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We're going to start with the why, the quest for fairness. Then we'll hit that all-important gi or no gi question. After that, we'll find your division, cover the crucial rules for the weigh-in, and wrap things up with the ultimate test, the open class. Let's jump in.
Okay, Section 1, the quest for fairness. Before we dive into any charts or numbers, we really have to get our heads around the philosophy. You know, why do these weight classes even exist? Why are they so fundamental to the sport?
Well, it really boils down to these three big ideas. First up, fairness. It's just about making sure you're going up against someone who's roughly your same size. Then, and this one is absolutely huge, there's safety. Pitting a rooster weight against a super heavyweight just isn't safe and dramatically increases the risk of injury. And finally, it's all about competitive balance. When you neutralize that massive size advantage, you force skill, technique, to be the thing that decides the match. It's about whose jiu-jitsu is sharper, not just who's bigger.
So that brings us to our second section. Because before you even step on a scale, you have to make one decision that completely changes the target number. Are you competing in the gi or are you going no gi? Believe me, this is way more than just a fashion choice. It changes the math completely.
And the difference is super practical, but you have to know it. For a gi competition, you literally weigh in wearing the whole uniform, the jacket, the pants, the belt. All of that weight is included. For no gi, though, you're just in your rash guard and shorts. It's basically your real body weight. This is exactly why the gi divisions have higher weight limits than the no gi ones. They have.
So how much weight are we really talking about? Well, a standard competition gi can easily add 1.5 to 2 kilos. That's about 3 to 4.5 pounds. That right there is the whole reason the limits are different. You absolutely have to factor in the weight of your uniform.
All right, Section 3. Let's get into the nitty-gritty and find your division. We're about to look at the official IBJJF weight charts. And yeah, it might look like a wall of numbers at first, but I promise it's actually super simple once you see how it's all laid out.
Let's kick things off with the adult male divisions for gi competitions. Now, this is for competitors from 18 to 29 years old. And just remember, these weights you're about to see are the absolute max, and that's with your gi on.
So just take a look at the chart. You've got the division name, then the limit in kilos, and then in pounds. So for instance, if you're aiming for the really popular light division, you got to weigh in at or under 76 kilos, which is about 167.5 pounds. And of course, if you're one of the bigger athletes, you'll see ultra heavy at the bottom has no upper limit at all.
Okay, next up we have the adult female gi divisions. The structure is exactly the same, but the weight limits are, of course, different. They're all adjusted to make sure the matches are just as fair and just as competitive.
As you can see, different numbers for different bodies. For featherweight here, for example, the limit is 58.5 kilograms, or 129 pounds, with that gi on. And just like we talked about with the men's divisions, if you were to compete no gi, the limit for each of these categories would be a little bit lower to account for not having that uniform.
And of course, BJJ competition isn't just for adults. The IBJF has really detailed divisions for juveniles and for kids too, all built with safety as the #1 priority. And listen, here is a critical, non-negotiable rule for all parents and coaches. Weight cutting is never advised for children. The goal has to be, always, for them to compete at their natural, healthy weight.
So you've picked your division. You've trained your butt off. Now for Section 4, the rules for the weigh-in itself. This is it. This is the moment of truth. And trust me, getting this part wrong can end your entire competition day before you even get to warm up.
The process itself is pretty simple, but it is incredibly strict. You'll show up during your scheduled time, you'll show them your photo ID, and then you step on the official scale wearing your full competition uniform. The official checks the number, and you either made weight or you didn't. It is that black and white. And I need to be crystal clear about this, okay? This is a direct quote from the IBJJ rulebook. No flexibility will be offered from officials if you miss weight. That means zero tolerance. No, oh, I'm just a little over, no rounding down, no exceptions. If you are even 0.1 pounds over, you are disqualified. The bottom line is you have to know your number and you have to make it, period.
But here's a pro tip, where knowing your specific event is absolutely key. At most IBJJF tournaments, you weigh in on the day of the competition, sometimes literally moments before your first match. Now, compare that to a big event like ADCC, where you usually weigh in the day before. That 24-hour difference to rehydrate and refuel, that is a total game changer, and it completely alters an athlete's strategy.
You know, it's funny. We've spent this entire explainer talking about how important and necessary weight classes are. So for our final section, we're going to talk about the one place where we throw all those rules right out the window. Welcome to the ultimate test of skill, the open class.
The open class, sometimes called the absolute division, is exactly what it sounds like. It's a free-for-all. Any competitor at that belt level, from the smallest rooster weight to the biggest ultra-heavy, can sign up and see how they stack up against everyone. This brings us full circle, right back to our original question. The open class is the real-world laboratory for testing if technique can truly conquer size.
So there you have it. The divisions, the rules, the weigh-in secrets, and the philosophy behind the entire IBJJF weight class system. It's a framework built for fairness, for safety, and for making sure that on any given day, the best jiu-jitsu wins. Now that you know the rules of the game, the only question left is, how are you going to test your skill?